Hi, this is Joe again with another review. For the sake of this video, we're going to be discussing the 2019 HBO documentary, What's My Name Mohammad Ali. I just watched this thing over the weekend, and I'm telling you, it is a very good documentary, but there's a couple problems I had. There's only really one problem I have with this thing. It shows, the career, I do mean the career of Muhammad Ali. What I mean by that is it pretty much follows Ali's boxing career. From the time he was in he won the gold medal for the heavyweight division in the 1960 Olympics to when he finally retired boxing in 1981. So he had almost a 20-year career as a professional boxer. I think he had about like 20-year career as a heavyweight boxer, and going into just about the majority of his fights, as not only in the Olympics but also as a professional. Of course, the problem is that he had about 3 or 4 fights too many. I mean, he won 56 of his fights. It was like, I think it was like grand total maybe 56 and 6 for his career. And he won the heavyweight title like 3 times in his career. Once against originally against Sonny Liston, another one against George Foreman in the famous rope-a-dope fight, and he won a 3rd time, I think, against Ken Norton. I think it was either Ken Norton or Frazier. So I know I messed up on. I know I messed up on that, but it was interesting to see those clips, especially his first fight against Frazier, because I was not even born yet. It was like 4 months before I was born, that fight. So it was the first Ali Frazier fight, I mean. But of course there's controversy in his career because he converted to, after he beat Sonny Liston for becoming the heavyweight champ for the first time, in his first title run, he converted to Islam, and that was pretty controversial at the time. He changed his name to Muhammad Ali, and of course, he was always complaining, "Oh, what's your name?" And I said, "My name is Muhammad Ali." And says, "Oh no, your name." He had one fight with, I think it was like with Ken Norton or another. I forgot it was another fighter in between the Ali Frazier, or just before the Ali Frazier fight, the first one, when he trying to come back as a fighter after he was stripped of the title, which I'm going to mention in a minute. He says, "What's your name? Your name is not Ali. Your name is Cassius Clay. Well, I'll always call you Cassius Clay because that's your name. No, my name is Ali." Now, so you had that kind, and of course when that fight finally takes place, he beats the crap out of the guy. So because of all that, but of course, what the other controversial moment of Ali's career was the fact that not only he converted to Islam, but he refused to fight in the Vietnam War because he got drafted. And Floyd Patterson, and not just Floyd Patterson, but Joe Louis, who was the heavyweight champ back in the 40s. He got in the late 30s and early 40s was the heavyweight champ. He had those matches with Max Nelly. When he got drafted, he went and fought in World War II. So I figured, since I fought in World War II, you should have fought in Vietnam. There was the attitude. But he decided not to go because it was against my religion to go. And so they stripped him of the heavyweight title, and they banned him for about like 3 years. I think about 3-4 years until he finally got all resolved. And he sued boxing. He sued the state of New York because they stripped him of his boxing license because he refused to fight in Vietnam. And he sued. And it took that long to get through the courts. And eventually, the Supreme Court of the United States ruled in Ali's favor, I should say, because for religious status, you can't. In those days, when we actually had drafts in the United States, you can ask for an exemption for religious status. But for some reason, at first, they didn't give it to Ali. because he figured, because he was like too famous at the time to fight, and to go to war in Vietnam. So, but and because at that time he just converted to Islam, and so figured that that's just for convenience, so he won't have to fight in Vietnam because he's too much of a big shot. So that's why they stripped him of his title and stripped him of boxing in New York State, and so he had to fight in the courts, and he eventually won out, an 8-0 decision by the Supreme Court. So he went back to boxing, and he was a little bit out of shape. He wasn't 100% shape for the first Ali Frazier fight. He got in the best shape as he could, but he lost by decision. It was the first time he actually lost. And so when his corner man said in the documentary, in the news conference after the first fight, that at least now you can honestly say that Joe Frazier is now honestly the champ now. Because he beat the champ, now he's the champ now. Because during the time when Ali didn't have the belt was vacant. It's kind of like almost like the bit with WrestleMania 4 when the title was vacant. And they had to have a tournament to determine who would be the heavyweight champ. And Frazier won this little boxing tournament deal to get Ali's vacant title, which he did. I think it took like about a year or 2 years to straighten out this tournament to see who will win the heavyweight title, because naturally fights had to take breaks between fights. And Frazier got it, and of course they challenged him the first time, and they challenged him the second time, and the third time. They had 3 fights. When they had the second fight, it wasn't for the heavyweight title. The second fight, I think the third fight was. And that fight went to an extra round. Ali will not have survived it, because he was totally exhausted, because he was worn out on the third fight, because they were hitting each other so much and so often in the third Ali Frazier fight, that he was exhausted. He almost collapsed. He almost retired right then and there. Ali, after that fight, and of course I think it was the second fight, Ali actually got his jaw broken by Frazier. So of course his famous having this big mouth, all his problems, he couldn't do it because he had a broken jaw. He couldn't talk. So that was interesting. They didn't even know any of that stuff. Then of course other famous fight was with George Foreman, with the rope-a-dope fight, when Foreman was the champ, and that's when Ali got the belt the second time, was when he beat Foreman. And that had to be one of the most famous fights he had, was with the rope-a-dope fight. And of course, the last 3 fights he had was against Leon Spinks, which he lost. One fight against Larry Holmes, who was, ironically, with Larry Holmes, even though he was over the hill, when Larry Holmes fought Mike Tyson, he was over the hill already. But when he fought Ali, Larry Holmes just kicked his ass in that fight. And Holmes was actually Ali's training partner, his sparring partner. So he knew. So Holmes knew everything that Ali knew in the ring, and so that's how he was able to beat him. So they knew him so well. And of course, the last fight was against Trevor Burbick, who Mike Tyson just beat the shit out of him. He fought him like 4 or 5 years later when Tyson beat him for the heavyweight title. I think it was his first heavyweight championship match for Tyson, and it was just kind of like Trevor Burbick, did he fight Mike Tyson? That was my first reaction when I first watched the documentary, and then of course after the Burbick fight, that's when he finally officially retired, and then of course he came down with Parkinson's, a version of Parkinson's with the tremors and speech, and how his speech was affected already by then. Some of the stuff he did with Howard Cosell during the 70s, that was kind of fun to see. But I felt it would have been a better all-around documentary if they showed more of his personal life. That, of course, didn't happen so much. Except only the parts where it was like converted to Islam. I said this little boxing center in Pennsylvania. That was about it. That was personal life. They didn't say when he was married, when he had kids, that stuff. They did go into a little bit when he was going to like Afghanistan to help them out, or talk to Saddam Hussein, which is ridiculous, or Nelson Mandela when he did all that stuff. When Nelson Mandela was freed, the criminal in South Africa. Not when anybody says he was a criminal, and Mandela was, I mean. And of course, they mentioned a quote by Ali at the end of the film, and he died in 2016. So, but it would have been better for me if he had some more of a personal life while he was boxing, during his boxing heyday. And also show him lighting the torch. Oh, I should also mention that he's lighting the torch in the '96 Olympics. But for what they had, it was good for what they had. But it could have been. I felt it could have been better if they showed all of his personal life. They showed his professional career, and that's it. And it also shows. Or I should mention. I know I'm jumping around a lot, but they showed how Ali was able to hype his fight so well. You do all the trash talking and stuff. That's because when he was a kid, he used to watch this wrestler, professional wrestler, named Gorgeous George, and how Gorgeous George used to hype his matches, and how he used to, comb his hair, and how he brushed his hair, with the big robes and the hair, Gorgeous George. So he kind of liked that. So he kind of mimicked what he saw in wrestling, and that's why. And there's another problem I have with this documentary. During his heyday in the 70s, in 1976, it was the only professional match that Ali had, which they didn't show in this thing, was the farce of a match, the wrestler versus boxer match, and he had in 1976 versus Antonio Inoki. Now, they didn't show that match in this documentary. I'm watching the whole thing, so how come I'm not showing the Antonio Inoki thing with Ali? Now, if you want to see it, I think it is on YouTube. I'm not sure, but it's also in the HBO show, the all new, the all new Not So Great Moments in Sports. It was the second show when they had the Inoki Ali match. They didn't show it on this thing, but it did show the match, or at least a little bit of it, that inspired an unknown screenwriter and actor, Sylvester Stallone, to write the Academy Award-winning movie Rocky, and that was the match that Ali had with Chuck Wepner. It did show a little bit of that. He actually had two matches with Wepner, and it didn't show enough of that or hop on that particular match, because that was the match that inspired Sylvester Stallone to write Rocky. That match, or at least the first match. They had with Wepner, and during the match, Wepner knocked down Ali during that match. And he went the full 15 rounds, just like Rocky Balboa did against Apollo Creed. And of course, that clip in the Oscars with Ali and Stallone, which is one of the most funnier bits, because Ali said, "I'm the real Apollo Creed." It was given to Stallone saying, "I'm the real Apollo Creed," and all that stuff. But the match that Ali had with Inoki, that was not mentioned at all. All the time when Ali was the special guest referee in the first main event in the very first WrestleMania in 1985, when he was a special referee for the Hulk Hogan, Mr. T versus Roddy Piper and Paul Orndorff tag team match that ended the first main event in the very first WrestleMania back in 1985. They didn't show any of that in this documentary. That's why I said it could have been better, because that stuff was not in there. But to say that, I'm not going to say this was a bad documentary. It was good for what it was, but personally, I felt it could have been better. Couldn't have been better. So that's my review of What's My Name Muhammad Ali. Before I do my usual send off, let's click on rate the video and subscribe to my channel and all that stuff. Instead of doing that on this video, I want to on the day I'm doing this video, I'm doing on Memorial Day 2019, which is May 27th, 2019. Doing this on Memorial Day, and so of course I want to dedicate this video to all the troops out there who fought and died for this country, and those who sacrificed their time to defend this country. I want to dedicate this video to them. And of course, those of you who watch my videos, you see the picture of the famous play, the 1986 World Series, behind me. That's directly behind my head here. I also want to dedicate this video to the guy who gave the World Series to the Mets, to the 1986 Mets on a silver platter for making this error, because he passed away this morning at the age of 69 from a form of dementia he had, and that's of course Bill Buckner. So I'm dedicating this video to Bill Buckner as well. My sympathies go out to his family and friends and fans of Buckner, who was like a borderline Hall of Famer before he did the error, and now because of the error, he's not getting into the Hall of Fame, unfortunately. But it's made a special exception for him and put him in because he has over 2,700 hits in his career, led the league in hitting in 1980, and of course 6 years later he committed this error. And it's a shame that true the city of Boston now forgave him, because the Red Sox won three or four? 4 championships, and since 1986 they won 4 times. I think the most of any team in this century won 4 times, and it's a shame that he died. May the guy finally rested. I think Bill is now finally resting in peace now. He's not going to get any more crap from people giving him crap for not catching the error, or not catching the ground ball that Mookie Wilson hit. So dedicating this video to Bill Buckner. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time.